fantastic festival. It's been a great day and a great night last night. I particularly want to thank Roxanne Gay because she's the one who had to email me over and over. She's been doing a wonderful job of getting us where we need to be when we need to be there. I think it's a really fantastic event that you guys are putting on. It's been a pleasure to be a part of it. So I'm going to read one short story tonight, a very short story. And just by way of preface, I'll say that many years ago, a long time ago when I was many pounds lighter, I used to have a high school teacher, my high school Spanish teacher. Whenever I came into the room, he would yell out, "Hey, Daddy Longlegs." But now that I look back on it, it's kind of abusive. So I just say this to say that, like all good stories, this one is based in bitterness and the need for revenge. And it's called Skinny Girl's Constitution and Bylaws. We will know each other by the way our watches slip from our wrists, the bruises on our knees, our winged shoulder blades tenting silk dresses. We eat, we eat. We eat like wild boars, like wolves, like cyclists in training. We love the bloody shreds that cling to the tea. We suck the gob of marrow that floats to the top of the soup. We gnaw the chicken down to splinters. Everything is bone, bone, bone. Her brother holds Polly to the candle to read her, the way one would a stolen envelope. Numbers float like seaweed under her skin. She is a mathematical genius. She has teeth like the keys of an adding machine. She tells her brother that his birth date plus his wedding date plus the date of his death add up to 243. He drops her so quickly the flame goes out. They call us witches. They look away from us in the bright light. The lavender crisps in the fields. The rain will not come. Carita is the only one of us who once was fat. Her mother cooked with lard and made pink pastries on the weekends. But when she was 13, Carita got her period and a fever in the same week. She burned and burned. The priest said masses over her. Her bed was lit with 100 candles. Her mother held a wet cloth to her brow for 15 months, while bees died in the space between the window and the screen. And when she rose up, Carita was a blade of grass, sweet as spit, forehead blanched and thighs withered. We ask her what it was like and pinch her waist, but she only smiles. We love our secrets. Anything hidden is so dear to us, we who are always on display. When we run, our knees are castanets. 13 of us, a baker's dozen, pasteboard box of meringues, sweet and brittle, 13 horses wheeling at the fence, 13 water striders, all legs and surface tension. Bianca's job is to fasten ties around men's necks all day long. She has mastered the Windsor, the half Windsor, the four in hand. She is practicing the cross knot. The double simple is best for short men, only a few wear bow ties. Most prefer silk to polyester. Cotton is a daring choice. Bianca's fingers move quick as crickets. Many of her clients don't even realize she's there. The worst part is the collars. They are always too narrow or wide, too dingy or floppy. Bianca takes home the collars of the man she likes best and stiffens them herself with sugar and egg whites and mineral water, boiled down to a paste, painted on with a dove's feather, dried with her own breath. We will gestate plump, happy babies in the bone cages of our pelvises. When we lift our arms to the moon, there is a sound like branches scraping. Lizzie stuffs a car with her bare hand, standing in the middle of the road over the body of the dead fox. The car just kisses the skin of her palm as it drifts to rest, like a boat easing into dock. Beneath the wishbone of her legs, the fox shudders. The moon falls right out of the sky. Fur springs up to cover wounds. Its tail traces an S on the asphalt. We chant Plath at school assemblies. 1 year in every 10, peel off the napkin, I eat men, as we shake our pom-poms and swivel our hips, left, right, all around, a racetrack, a snake eating its own tail, the eternal omphalos. Our classmates love it, throw carnations at us, send us candygrams and risque text messages, dream of us all weekend long. We will donate cells drawn from the doorknobs of our spines, the needle a key turning us. At 8, Francie is the youngest of us. We feed her the choicest bits, the organ meats and the toenails, the nose cartilage. She is pretty as a stream, kind as a blizzard, graceful as a schooner 1,000 feet underwater. She plays goalie on the hockey team and roars like a lion when she has a bad dream. She will not sleep alone. Her fears are our fears. Her knuckles dig into our necks at night. Her mouth touches ours when we least expect it. Little ghost, how often have we closed the door on you? How often have you tunneled through? We will not stick our heads in ovens. We will not throw ourselves from bridges, nor weight our pockets, nor disturb our veins. Nessa is the mean one, the one who deals with telemarketers and credit card bills. She never holds the door for anyone. She puts the empty milk carton back in the fridge. She tells people their pets are ugly and ill-behaved. In her spare time, she climbs, her feet wedged into the too small shoes, her fingers caked with chalk. Once she fell 60 feet and dangled there, hanging from the rope in a leaf-bladed piton, the last of 3, the only one to hold. She broke all her fingers that time, trying to find a way up or down. In the end, she swears she used her teeth to unclasp the carabiners and release herself from the granite face into the air, where she floated, hollow as a feather, lightning cracking around her, knowing what was coming, the morphine and its weird itch, the feeling of her tibia stitching itself back together, the forever lumpiness of her ribs, the first drops of rain, heavy as lead on her skin. We will grow up to be doctors and stockbrokers and video store clerks. We will wear our hair like crowns and snort through flared nostrils. Martine is 115 years old and still flat-chested. In her cold blue heart, 3 little men live. By night, they write love poems and keep her awake with their sighing. By day, they smoke cigarettes and discuss Nietzsche. Finally, they lick clean the last can of duck fat, cough up their black lungs, and wither into tiny skeletons whose splintery outlines Martine can feel if she presses hard enough. We pass each other notes in the hollows of our collarbones. In the snow, Audrey is invisible. Her pink cheeks drain to white, her eyes pale, her skin turns waxy. She's the corpse bride running after the soccer ball. She's the one who chirps we're late again, hands around lunches in paper bags, and builds scale replicas of Notre Dame out of the ice that she scrapes from the windshield. Inside, Audrey's always first to be seen. She's all roses and oranges and zebra stripes. She jingles when she walks. It is her molars rattling. There is no noose that can hold us. Fiona writes romance novels on her cell phone during lunch hour. All of her heroines are named Fiona, and her heroes are prone to swooning. Her publisher pays her in pounds and thinks she's a little old grandmother in county court. She writes, Mark clapped the back of his hand to his forehead and said, I have overcome. And Frank sank gracefully onto the divan, and Steve reached out blindly as the world went gray. Underwater, we are transparent. Our mothers won't let us sit in their laps. Colleen is deaf. We broke all of our grandmother's rose decal plates proving it. We speak to her in signs and spell out the unusual words, filament, frangipani, Balzac. She sings us to sleep with her stony voice. She wakes at dawn to bake saffron buns with fat raisins poking out like roaches. In public, we must be careful. The sight of our fingers spelling causes heart attacks and car accidents. Mostly we wait to talk in the dark, in bathroom stalls and movie theaters, broom closets and basements, our hands pressed into her hand, our knuckles kissing. We fit 6 across the back seat and shiver together, arms and legs wrapped like eels around each other. Olivia, Ophelia, and Odette are identical triplets. They have red hair that has never been cut. They sleep on piles of it, bind it up in knots and rolls for the daytime, let it unfurl like bolts of silk after dark. They sing in unison, their clear voices making a chord. They tap dance and juggle knives. They do a ventriloquist act at the burlesque theater downtown. Between the strippers, the triplets appear, holding 3 dolls with long red hair. They are perfectly synchronized. They never falter, their lips don't move. Once in a while, a chartreuse feather floats down from the catwalk, or the light shifts and the stage glitters with loosened sequins. For the finale, they sit perfectly still until the audience forgets which are the dolls and which the girls and breaks into spontaneous applause. We will grow up to be spelunkers, ballerinas, and landscape architects. In fairy tales, we are the last to be eaten. They call us late bloomers, daddy long legs, frigid. They call us by each other's names, and names we've never known, and they seat us in the back row of the plane, not realizing that it's our prayers keeping everyone from going down in a scream of burning metal. They call us sweetheart in the dark, never guessing we are all around them, so many of us packed in tight. That old game, we think. Breast, hip, thigh. Sardines, it was called, and the goal was to stay hidden. We wash in teacups, we chart the stars on our scapulae, we make telescopes of thumbs and forefingers, we cut our nails short as boys, the better to scratch at the chiggers embedded in our shins. We know our blood is sweet to drink. We know our bones are irresistible. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here, and thank you for all the faculty who have welcomed us and driven us around, also the graduate students. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nods. I'm going to begin with the first poem from the book. This poem steals lyrics from a Prince song, Little Red Corvette. Almost got me in trouble with the publisher until I reminded them that copyright lawyers do not read poetry. This poem is an ekphrastic poem / love poem. Our completion, Oil and Wood, Tina Rodriguez, 1999. Before nourishment, there must be obedience. In his hands, I was a cup overflowing with thirst. Eighth ruler of my days, ninth lord of my nights, he thrashed above me like branches. Once, after weeks of rain, he sliced a potato in half to remind me of the moon. The dark slept in the small of his back, the back of his knees, pale music. We crumble the Eucharist and feed it to the pigeons. Sinvergüenza, escuincle, he who makes things sprout. In the margins of a book of poems by Emily Dickinson, he scribbled, she had a pocket full of horses, Trojan, and some of them used. Often, I mistook him for a storyteller when he stood in the rain. A su izquierda, huesos. A su derecha, mapas de cuero. When I'd yawn, he'd pluck black petals out of my mouth. Next poem is titled Watermark. It borrows two phrases from Gwendolyn Brooks' wonderful poem, A Boy Breaking Glass. And in this poem, I repeat the word socorro. And in Spanish, when you call that word out urgently, it becomes a call for help. And socorro also happens to be my mother's name. See what I did there? And paid off. Watermark. In the dark, only the Dibble can cast the shadow. Too poor to afford lilies, she walked down the aisle holding a glass of milk. Her left breast is nicknamed Juan, the right Diego. Nightly, she catches moths with newspaper cones. Hammock skipper, southern emerald. Lungs black with cancer, her father was buried 2 months before the wedding. Her name a tassel in my mouth. Socorro, socorro. Rain pierced her womb when she was 6 months pregnant. Rain singed the face of her child, the burn marks turning into beauty marks. Beautiful flaw, terrible ornament. I keep a spur under my pillow to ward off nightmares. Too poor to afford lace, she walked down the aisle on a cold afternoon, her breath a veil. She arranges moth wings on a table, reads the wings like tarot cards. 9 of swords, knight of coins. Her mouth waters when she hears a bolero. Her father was buried in pleated pants. Day after day, she folds and folds paper. Alas, farros. She gave me a pack of cigarettes on my 13th birthday. Often, I put on the gold ring she leaves by the sink. Not cathedrals, but presents. The first man she saw naked was the rain. The dark of her knees, a watermark. Socorro, socorro. If I dream I'm cupping her face with my hands, I wake up holding the skull of a wolf. Self-portrait with tumbling and lasso. I'm drumroll and boyer. I'm watermark and fable. I am weaving the snarls of a wolf through my hair like ribbon. At my feet, chisels and jigsaws. I am performing an autopsy on my shadow. My ribcage, a wall. My heart, a crack in a wall, a foothold. I am tumbling upward, a French acrobat. I am judder and effigy. I am pompadour and splendid. I am spinning on a spit, split in half, an apple in my mouth. I know what Eve didn't know. A serpent is a fruit eaten to the core. I'm a massacre of the dreamers, a terracotta soldier waiting for his emperor's return. When I bow, a black fish leaps from the small of my back. I catch it, I tear it apart, I fix the scales to my lips. Every word I utter is opalescent. I am skinned and orphic. I am scarlet and threshold. At my touch, a piano melts like a slab of black ice. I am steam rising, dissipating. I am a ghost undressing. I'm a cowboy riding bareback. My soul is whirling above my head like a lasso. My right hand, a pistol. My left, automatic. I am knocking on every door. I'm coming on strong like a missionary. I'm kicking back my legs like a mule. I'm kicking up my legs like a showgirl. My niece likes to remind me that I am nothing like a showgirl. One thing I do a lot in my work is code switching. I shuttle back and forth from English and Spanish. And my Spanish is never italicized or put in context. There's no glossary in the back of the book. It's just one way of me saying that I do not privilege one way of seeing the world over another. In this poem, the title also functions as its first line. In Colorado, my father scoured and stacked dishes in a Tex-Mex restaurant. His co-workers, unable to utter his name, renamed him Jalapeno. If I ask for a goldfish, he spits a glob of phlegm into a jar of water. The silver letters on his black belt spell sangron. Once, borracho, at dinner, he said, Jesus was not a snowman. Arriba Durango, arriba Orizaba. Packed into a car trunk, he was smuggled into the States. Frijolero, greaser. In Tucson, he branded cattle. He slept in a stable. The horse blankets, oddly fragrant. Wood smoke, lilac. He's an illegal. I'm an illegal American. Once, in a grove of saguaro, at dusk, I slept next to him. I woke with his thumb in my mouth. No que no tornadas, pistolita. He learned English by listening to the radio. The first 4 words he memorized, in God we trust. The 5th, percolate. Again and again I borrow his clothes. He calls me Scarecrow. In Oregon, he picked apples. Brailburn, Jonah Gold, Cameo. Nightly, to entertain his friends, around a campfire, he strummed the guitarra, sang corridos. Arriba Durango, arriba Orizaba. Packed into a car trunk, he was smuggled into the States. Greaser, beaner. Once, borracho, at breakfast, he said, the heart can only be broken once, like a window. No mames. His favorite bel pato, an águila perched on nopal. If he laughs out loud, his hands tremble. Bugs Bunny wants to deport him. Cesar Chavez wants to deport him. When I walk through the desert, I wear his shirt. The gaze of the moon stitches the buttons of his shirt to my skin. The snake hisses. The snake is torn. Oh, that clock is not working. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome. At a quarter to midnight, blue beetles crawling along the minute hand of the wall clock. I awaken, panicked, next to my lover, a caramel-hued cello asleep on embroidered linen. A light bulb blazes, burns out, a doe's flash a white tail that instructs the fawn to follow its mother in flight. I hurry down a hallway, through a door, into a pasture where mules are grazing. Moonlight floats in the air like coarse cloth, silver speckled and woven on the looms of mirrors. Once I tore into the torso of my cello and discovered its heart, a pair of horseshoes caked with red clay. The mules surround me, necks bent, nostrils pluming out different lengths of breath. I toss off my robe. A mule curls its tongue around my erection. I throw my head back and stare at the slowest lightning, the stars. The next two poems are inspired by these two characters, mythic characters invoked in a Robert Haley poem called Boneflower Elegy. They're love poems to imaginary things, beast. To the angel beast. All that glitters isn't music. Once, hidden in tall grass, I tossed fistfuls of dirt into the air, doe after doe of leaping. You said it was nothing but a trick of the light. Gold curves, gold scars. Am I not your animal? You'd wait in the orchard for hours to watch a deer break from the shadows. You said it was like lifting a cello out of its black case. Here's his companion piece. To the beast angel. A pouring of milk among the reeds, the neck of a swan. I float on a pond, nude, obese, around my throat, on a leather cord, an amulet carved from soap. Mid-haired, eyes shut, you stand on the bank, in your hands a finch. I call your name. You release the finch. It wings toward me, settles on my chest. It pecks and pecks at the moles on my skin, swallows the moles like seeds. I asked once for a father. You gave me a wreath. I asked once for a sonnet. You peeled back the skin and muscle of your left hand, 14 bones. One by one, the moles on my body disappear, leaving me immaculate, leaving me ravenous. I call your name. The finch flies back to you. You crush it. Bright blood, blue guts. I asked once for grace. You dusted my face with ash. I ask, I ask, I ask. You step into the pond, hair dissipating like smoke, eyes still shut. The reeds tick and tick. At your touch, my nipples open like bird beaks. Well, that was a response to that poem. Really liked it. Live with that. I'm going to finish with two poems. You spent 9 years working in your book and you can't find the poem. You need the poem. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome. I approach a harp abandoned in a harvested field. A deer leaps out of the brush and follows me in the rain. A scarlet snake wound in its dark antlers. My fingers curled around a shard of glass. It's like holding the hand of a child. I'll cut the harp strings for my mandolin, use a frame as a window in a chapel yet to be built. I'll scrape off the blue lacquer, Milk the flakes down with a candle and ladle, and paint the inner curve of my soup bowl. The deer passes me, I lower my head, stick out my tongue to taste the honey smeared on its hind leg. In the field center, I crouch near a boulder engraved with a number and stare at a gazelle's blue ghost, the rain falling through it. I was born and raised in southern Arizona, and every summer we would hear stories of undocumented people crossing the desert, and many of them would perish in the desert. So this is an elegy to those nameless faces. I have the word Mojado in the title, which literally means wetback. To a Mojado who died crossing the desert. After a storm, saguaros glisten like mint trombones. Sometimes a coyote leaps over creosote. Hush, the sand calls out for more footprints. A crack in a boulder can never be an entrance to a cathedral, but a mouse can be torn open like an orange. Hush, the arroyo is the color of rust. Sometimes a gust of snow floats across the water as gracefully as a bride. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here on a Saturday night. And thank you so much to all the grad students and the people who've been kind to us this whole time we've been here. And thank you to the English department, or whatever department is hosting this. Thank you to the faculty members that I've met tonight, Lania and Ruben, and finally Roxanne, who invited me, who I admire very much. And you're all really lucky to have her here. I'm really glad that you put this together, all of you, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to read a chapter from my novel, A Map of Home. And I wrote part of this novel right after 9/11. I was living in a trailer in a small town outside of Austin called Kyle. And the reason I moved there is because I basically suckered a few people into giving me money without having to sleep with them. It's really difficult to do. And I moved into this trailer and my rent was really low, like with all my utilities and everything was like $200. And my son was 3 at the time, and there was a preschool nearby that for low-income parents could send their kids there. So I would send my kid there at around 7:30, and then pick her up at 2. And during that time in between, I was perusing the early kind of version of the internet, I guess, and smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee and writing this novel. So I still remember the days that I was sitting down to write this chapter, so I'm very fond of it. It's titled, You Are a 14-Year-Old Arab Chick Who Just Moved to Texas. That fall you moved with your family to America, you are diagnosed with TB. The old white doctor points at the 5-inch red rectangle on your forearm and announces, that should be 3 inches smaller, at least. He puts you on a battery of medications, which worsens your acne, makes you gain 30 pounds, and gives you an overall sense of impending death. As usual, your mother is jealous of you and wants to be the one dying instead. For the first few weeks there, it's her first time without a piano and your first time without friends to comfort you. TV is full of commercials, and your family goes to McDonald's too often. The first few times, you're excited to be eating hamburgers, and then a few months later, you realize that it's just a nasty fast food restaurant. When you go to the movies, you have to explain to your parents why the jokes are funny. Long after the credits begin to roll, the 3 of you still sit in the dark, you translating the movie's murder mystery into Arabic. There's nothing sadder than a 14-year-old explaining a movie to her middle-aged parents. In America, you think, not understanding a movie is exactly the same as being illiterate. It could break your heart if you really think about it, so you should never think about it. You should just go to school, eat your lunch on the floor outside the library, then go inside the library and spend the rest of the period reading day, Demi wants to have lunch with you. Soon, so will Camilla and Aisha, who's black and Muslim and wants to hang out with you during Ramadan so y'all can give each other support. When these girls call the radio to request songs, they send you mad shout-outs. You have no fucking clue what a shout-out is, but you like that your name is on the radio, even if they mispronounce it. They are 16 and drive beat-up cars and want you to hang out at the park with them after dark. You tell them your baba does not allow that. She say her papi don't play that. They translate to each other. There are things that make it bearable. That bicycle your father bought you when you weren't looking, its handlebars shiny, nothing like the tattered, rusty bikes you had to rent from the hashish fiend at the souk back in Malmora, Egypt. Oreos, MTV, but mostly the letters you get from Fakhreddin, your boyfriend, who is still back in Alexandria, Egypt, renting bicycles from the hash fiend in the souk in Malmora. Letters that always begin, I miss your face, your eyes, your smile. What is America like? Is it cold there? And you like the blonde boys there better than me and my big nose. You write back that it's a total letdown, that there aren't any cute blonde boys and he's the best. But you're lying, because there are blonde twins that are straight out of a movie, they're gorgeous, and one day you drop your box of cherry chocolates so one of them can help you pick them up. Hey, I read about you in the newspaper, he says, and you blush. Did you used to live in like a tent and stuff? You lose your breath and say, no, actually, a glass pyramid. Okay, he says, right on. And he walks away. What a waste, you think to yourself. You finally have a locker, something you've been dreaming of since you saw that 7-Up commercial when you were 9. But lockers can't make a girl happy forever. One weekend afternoon, when your father comes into your bedroom with a letter from Fakhreddin in his hand, you brace yourself. There is a huge harangue. Girls should not be addressed this way, he tells you. And this boy says he misses kissing you. Did you actually kiss this boy? No, you say, a memory appearing in your head like a movie of yourself rolling around topless with Fakhreddin in an abandoned beach cabin. Absolutely not, you shout. The letter is torn up and discarded, and you are officially cut off from Fakhreddin. When Demi and Camilla and Aisha insist that you go to a rap concert with them at Stubbs, you are met with complete resistance. Enough, man, Mama tells your baba. Let the child go, she's suffocating here. You be quiet. The girl's not going to rap concerts and getting drunk and pregnant. No, and no. Full stop. And to seal it, he farts 3 times. I want to have friends, you scream and run to your room. We are not here to make a friend. We are here to study and get the best out of America. This is your father's mantra the entire time you are living under his roof. This is why he is in America, but not you. You want a life, a concept you just learned of. You and your parents go to the McDonald's drive-thru, and upon inspecting his cheeseburgers and finding them with pickles, your father, who still has troubles with his P's and B's, backs the car up and yells into the intercom, I said no pickles, you pitch! You hate the idea of having no friends here and not being allowed to write to your best friend, who isn't here. So, one morning, you make a decision. After listening to a Nirvana song half a dozen times, you pack a bag, kiss your brother's forehead, and sneak out of the house, balancing the bag onto your bike's handlebars. You wear a bowler hat that your mama had bought from a street vendor by campus when you first moved here. Your bike flies downhill, and in your jeans back pocket is your father's stolen credit card, and around your neck, every single gold pendant you've ever owned hanging from a sturdy gold chain. Selling the gold and getting some cash to live off of is the first logical step, you think to yourself, starving out of your mind. So you go into a small shop and give your chain to an older man with little hair. He weighs it and tells you $60. 60 bucks, you yell. Man, I should have gone lower, he says. No fucking way, that's all my gold. That's all I've got in the world, only 60 bucks? You think of your mama walking around with all that gold hanging from her ears and her wrists. Does she know how little it's worth here in America? You snatch a necklace back and clip it around your neck, and as you turn away, the man tells you if you come home with him, he'll buy you a new dress, and you can have a place to stay for free. The solution, you think, is to be a taco vendor. You decide this as the day nears to a close and businessmen in their suits are flooding the avenue. You go to the place off Congress to apply for a cart, and the man asks you how old you are. 17, you lie, and he asks if you got proof. No, you say, and that's the end of that. But I'm a taco vendor, you say. I need to sell tacos. It's part of a bigger plan to unite all peoples, especially Palestinians and Israelis. Oh, really, he wants to know and smiles. He's almost as old as your father, and he wants to know if you want to go home with him, because he can take real good care of you, and you wouldn't have to worry about a thing. You turn around and sprint into a pizza place, your mini suitcase banging against the asphalt, its wheels worn. Quickly realizing that you are prey, you walk to the nearest motel, a shithole, and check in under a fake name, Madonna Nirvana. The man looks jaded and wearily gives you a key. In your room, you decide that you're fucked and call your parents. God damn you, we thought you'd been kidnapped, your father says. It's her from God, your mom says. Where are you? We're coming to get you, he says. Not so fast, Buster, you say. You can't believe you just called your dad Buster. What? I have conditions. There's no condition. You give us direction. We come get you, little girl. Bye, you say and hang up. You call back 5 minutes later. Okay, what is your condition? Curfew extension. 9 p.m., final offer. Resume contact with my old best friend, Fakhreddin, who I never kissed. No. Hang up again. This time, you wait about an hour, strolling down to a shop on the drag and using the stolen credit card to buy yourself a dog collar. Okay, he yells when he picks up the phone. Letters allowed between you and this terrible boy, but there is absolutely, positively no dating allowed. That's fine, you say. I'm in the hotel in San Jacinto. In less than 1 year, you will deeply regret not having negotiated more on the dating bit. When they arrive, you're waiting on the street corner, sleepy and hungry. Your mother gets out of the car to hug you, and you see her face is pale like your Sitto's white cheese. You hug her hard and cry. You wish you hadn't hurt her. She thought she'd lost you, she says, and you tell her she shouldn't have worried, that you're tough. She laughs and tells you to get in the car and sit in the back with you. That night, you hold her hand and look out of the window at the city's lights fading away and see for the first time that you were braver than your mother. As though she'd read your mind, she gently curses you and then whispers in your ear, I've kept all those really terrible, by the way, letters for you. You never asked for them. You'd never seen that your mother was an ally. How could you have missed that? It was all your fault. Your father puts in a tape of Abdel Halim singing Sawah, but in the middle of it, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch comes on, and your father says he heard it on the radio and had to tape it because he thought it gave him a good feeling. The night folds over, your head settling on your mother's shoulder as you fall asleep and dream of a new life, an existential restart button, and a slice of pepperoni-less pizza.
Any questions for Tina?
Objections?
Request for refunds?
Don't be shy, kids.
The title of your book, I loved the book, we read it recently, Matt from Home. Noticed there was a lot of map references throughout the book. And I was curious about, I guess, the order in which the title was chosen. Was it chosen as a result of the references, or did the references come from the title?
I'm not sure. I mean, it was really difficult to come up with a title for this book. Originally, I wanted to call it Nadali, but because I'm Palestinian and that translates to my struggle, I thought that would cause some problems. I think it just was organic. There were all these map references, and it's about finding home. So they just sort of kind of tied into each other. I probably added I don't know how others feel, but I think it's really difficult to title a novel. There's something about short stories that are just like super fun to title, and but then once you have this like giant manuscript, you're sort of like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to get it right.
It was a good choice.
How well do your parents speak English?
Oh, they speak it very well.
Have they read your novel?
Oh, yes, they have.
And what was the effect? Yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing that happened after I wrote this was like these young Arab American and just generally Muslim women would email me and be like, "Were you terrified?" And I think when you write, I don't think you should really think about, people who aren't going to approve of your book. You should just really shut those people out when you're writing. You should write as fearlessly as possible. And so I just never imagined them reading it. And in fact, my dad doesn't really read literary fiction. My mom does. So I never thought my dad would actually read it. I thought he would just be like, "My daughter wrote a book." Which actually he did before he read it. He just showed it to everyone and like bought them copies, and then he read it and he was very upset by it. Yeah, my mom told me that it had a typo. When it came out, I was like, "So what'd you think?" And she was like, "There was a typo." Something that I spent 7 years slaving over, and she's like, "There was a typo." I don't know what you guys, like what your parents feel like about your...
Oh, I don't think, no, my parents don't read my work. My nieces and nephews do. I don't know why my mom gave them copies of the book. Last spring, my 8-year-old nephew said he's going to take it to show and tell. Like, no. Wait till high school or something.
Yeah, my parents, yeah, they read some stuff. When I was in college, I used to write these things because they were really morose, I was really serious, everything I wrote was really sad. I sent it to my mom, she would call me up and say, "So hilarious, that was so funny." And I was like, "That was melodramatic." No, it was great, he killed her in her sleep. I was like, okay. Kind of kept me grounded. Any other questions for us?
Saturday night.
Yeah, a great question for you, Miranda. Is any part of your novel, are there parts that are nonfiction, that really happened, or?
Probably 27%. 27%
27%.
of that capital. I think one of the reasons fiction writers don't like this question is because I feel like we want people to know we suffered and that we really care about our craft. And there's this misconception about writing from life where it's like you just sort of sat down and transcribed what happened. Like you just sat down and picked your nose and was just came out of you like that's how it came out. So I think that's why I don't know. It was definitely informed by my background. Like I couldn't find a book that was about someone with my specific background. So I was like, I'm gonna write that book. Like now, I would never write this book because I guess I've already done it and processed it. But yeah, at the time, that was really important to me.
It's like what Toni Morrison says, write the book you want to read.
Yeah, exactly.
You both said it's taken you some time to put your books together. Could you talk a little bit about your revision process and maybe something about first thought and what you do with that?
Revision. Yeah, so I love revising. I actually hate the composing part, and then I love the revising part. So I will revise endlessly, which is not so good. It makes me a very, very slow, laborious writer. It's not very smart of me. But in any case, yeah, so I like the revisions, and what I found, the process is that I write a story and put it away for a year, and then I
like when the stuff's coming out of the printer and you're just like, ugh. And when you're composing it, you're just like, this is so beautiful. It's my soul. It's just my soul singing. And then it comes out of the printer and you're just like, oh my god. But yeah, I revised endlessly too, and I wrote another novel after this that I put away, even though I put 4 years into it. It just wasn't, nothing I was gonna do, no matter how much I was gonna revise it, wasn't gonna work out. And then I talked to a few other novelists, and they said that they'd gone through the same thing, that it's pretty common to like write a manuscript and actually put it away.
When I write my drafts, when I'm writing, I don't even call them poems, I call them drafts. Just to get that weight off my shoulders. I usually, when I write something, I put it away for like 6 to 8 months, and I come back to it. Out of, fear and self-doubt, it's gonna suck, so I don't wanna look at it for a while. That's all. It took me 9 years to finish my first book, and it's just very slow, very deliberate. I just wanted to be happy with the book. It took a while to get there. Some days I'm not happy with it still, but it is what it is now, so gotta move on. Project number 2. But I think you have to enjoy, I think you have to enjoy the whole part of composition from beginning to end, or find some pleasure in it. Why are we devoting our lives to the page?
I have a general question. When you mentioned discarding a manuscript after putting so much work into it, and this might be too personal in the writing process, I don't know, but do you keep all manuscripts, or is there ever something that you compose that you just destroy by fire or something? I'm just curious about that process.
Did you destroy it?
No,
Acid?
it's in a file. It's not even in a drawer.
Can
It
we
doesn't
just
even.
destroy things in?
Yeah, it's like you just click them from your desktop. If your earphones are in, you don't even hear them. It's not even dramatic anymore.
Yeah.
But like some writers are more organized than others. Like I have different versions of things, and I just create folders and put them there. I don't actually throw anything away, but yeah.
When I was writing the manuscript, there are several moments in poems that made me very uncomfortable. But I trusted myself, said, okay, if it makes me uncomfortable, it might provoke a response in the reader. So those are the moments I kind of focused on and crafted and try to disperse throughout the collection. So I never had the impulse to put them away or like not continue writing. If something's there, then I just gotta follow it. So.
I have a lot of things I put away. I mean, a lot, and I just put it, like you said, in file folders. And your computer crashes, and you're sort of like, oh shit, and then you're like, oh thank God. Like all that crap's gone. So I mean, there's stuff sometimes I think, oh, what happened to that story? I go back through and I can't find it anymore. It's in some weird floppy disk, and I can't access it. Just let it go.
Have you ever had a time when you needed to just stop writing for a while?
When you needed to, or when you did? That's a different question.
Either one.
You want me to go first? You're looking at me. Yeah, I'm kind of a sporadic writer, I think it's good if you have a daily practice, and if that works for you, it's not necessarily my process. So there's certainly fallow periods, and actually, strangely, I don't give myself much grief for that. I just think this is the time when I'm not writing, I'm doing other things, I'm thinking, I'm reading, whatever I'm doing. I usually feel pretty sure that it'll still be there when I come back to it, but maybe that's naive of me, I don't know. Yeah.
I no longer stress about not writing because I'm reading and I'm living my life. I know the poems are like percolating, and my the stuff I'm reading is going to add to it or change it or strengthen it. So I have no pressure like that anymore. So as long as I'm reading, if I wasn't reading, I would probably feel kind of antsy about things. Like, oh, I'm not a writer. As long as I'm reading, I feel like a writer.
I think I have this like really big investment in being a writer. When I was little, like I really wanted to be a writer. I created this we all created these identity passports when we were 10 in my class. And it said my occupation was author. wasn't sure who I was anymore and didn't know like if I wanted to be a writer and what would it mean to be something else, and you know, like why am I so invested in something that makes me so unhappy all the time, that just takes so much work, and there's so much rejection that comes with it and all that stuff. So I did go through, I think, like a year or two of just not knowing what I was going to do, and then I just thought to myself, no, just read and write, and don't put so much pressure on it, and just, you know, there's something there that makes you feel alive, that you're attracted to, so why not just, you know, explore that.
I was really interested that you put things, that all of you said you put things away and don't come back to them until, you know, several months have passed. And it made me wonder how you then approach your teaching, where students don't have the time to do that. And, I mean, you could advise them to, I'm just curious, again, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you bring what you do into the classroom, and that's very general.
No, and this is probably true for all of us. You want students to revise, and I have to talk to them about how important that process is. And then you also talk to them about the artificiality of trying to do it within a semester, right?
Or within 2 years.
Or 2 years or a year, or however, you know, it's a very artificial constraint. In a way, it almost feels like an exercise, right? So I always tell my students they have to do a big revision, you know, by the end of the semester. I don't care if it's better or not. I just want them to try something, and you know that's part of the process that goes on from there. The end of the semester is the end of the story for them.
I usually tell my students that in MFA programs that these 2 or 3 years when you're building the foundation for the rest of your career. You're building the foundation. And after you graduate, most of you are going to start building your dwelling there. So just learn what you need to learn from your tradition, your craft. I mean, of course, students want to hear that. The students want to write their thesis and their first book in 2 or 3 years. But you model for them. You know, they keep asking me, did it really take you 9 years to write your book, Professor Correa? I'm like, I didn't keep that book like waiting in a drawer for 9 years, you know, collecting dust. It took me 9 years like that. So I think having a model and telling them other stories of other writers who matured slowly is helpful. Just give them a model and tell them not to fixate on the stars of the literary world, like instant success. Like, not gonna happen for everybody. Sometimes a slow path is the right path. Wow, it's like platitudes.
I do the opposite. I'm like, On the Road was written in 21 days. Start doing some drugs and in like 20 days or so. I think like everything was illuminated. Supposedly it was written in 3 weeks. It sucks, but still. I think it's important, but at the same time, like when I teach in an MFA program, and they have 3 years. So sometimes there'll be a story that they brought in the first semester, and then now it's thesis time, and it's the same exact draft. And I'm like, no, you've had 2 years, you know, to do something with this draft. So I do apply some pressure, where I'm like,
Switch the font, Louise.
you know, and that's kind of like what shows me the difference. Like there are some students that will come in where they want to take on a big project, and they'll workshop some of the chapters from it, and then by the time it's thesis time, it's a completely different book, and that's when I'm just like, super proud of them that they just were, you know, starting fresh and challenging themselves, and so.
Yeah, you know, you're talking about reading, and I was just wondering, for each of you, is there you know, when you have those, is there a writer or writers for each of you that you return to all the time to read, or depend on to sort of kind of get things rekindled? It's sort of a favorite writer's question.
I always draw a blank one, because like my tastes change every few months, so then I'll have like a collection of writers that I'm really interested in, and then I'll move on to like the next, and so I don't know if I have an answer.
Robert Hayden. I have to say, my perspective is like an homage to Robert Hayden. He lives in the shadow of his work, and even the new work is still indebted to him. And I just respond to his work so much because he was an African-American poet of the 20th century, and he's an immense craftsman, and I really respond to fact. And the way he was able to write his own particular narrative and incorporate many other things, ekphrastic poems, poems about friendship, solitude, and religion. So he just gave me a lens and a permission to write the poems I needed to write. And I keep going back to him to renewal that permission.
And I think I started keeping an unofficial list of writers that changed my life, you know, and I keep finding them, and my life changes a little bit or something. Yeah, like Jane Austen when I was really young, and then Charlotte Bronte. I go back to Bronte a lot, you know.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't? Lots a lot about Bronte. David Phillips, you know, Carol Maso, people like that. You know, I can go back to their work over and over again and read it and enjoy it. And I started doing this thing where with a friend, he's actually an econ professor, but he's really well read. In the summer, we read like all of someone's work. So Jamie Gordon mentioned Catherine Davis last night, and a couple summers ago, we read all of her work together. And it's fun to read a whole body of someone who has a few books out. Good? Are we good?
We're good.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.